Well, it's yet another evidence that Putin is not interested in ending the war. Quite to the contrary, he believes that he's winning the war, and it is just a matter of time until Ukraine is going to fall under his pressure.
And how do you think those drone attacks are affecting Ukraine? That obviously has been under attacks for 2 years now, more. But when it comes to morale?
Well, unfortunately, I could not be next to my family over the last night. I was on the way here to London, but it was devastating. It was terrible. My wife said it was the worst attack she experienced in Kyiv since the beginning of the invasion.
This comes just over a week after Operation Spider's Web. Now, that was June the 1st, 100 Ukrainian drones stuck deep into Russia, deep into the country, air bases where nuclear-capable long-range bombers were. The Russians have called it a terrorist attack. It's been called Russia's Pearl Harbor. In retrospect, a week on, a little bit more, what do you make of that attack? How do you think it's changed the dynamic in the war?
Well, it was a brilliant operation. It did not change the tide of the war, but it has demonstrated to Russia its vulnerabilities, and that even though Russia can be firing more drones on Ukraine every night, but Ukraine is still capable of fighting weaknesses, weak spots in Russia and attacking it in its very depths.
That attack happened, I think, just the day before the second round of peace talks happened in Istanbul. They didn't yield to anything, those peace talks. Do you see Russia actually digging in their heels now after they've seen this very audacious attack from Ukraine?
No, listen, this attack has nothing to do with the dynamics in negotiations. There was zero chance that this round of talks in Istanbul would produce any tangible result before the spider web and after the spider web. Why should Putin agree to a ceasefire if he doesn't understand why, he doesn't feel the pressure to agree to it?
We have a NATO summit coming up, and obviously it's not just about defense spending that all the countries are trying to increase, but it's about the direction of NATO, the Western alliance, its role in trying to help Ukraine. What changes would you like to see? What would you like to see come out of that summit?
I believe the biggest deliverable will be the agreement of all allies to increase their defense spendings and meet the thresholds. I believe that it would be very important if NATO allies could deliver a very coherent message to the peoples of their nations that war, the risk of war is real. Taking
it seriously, I guess, also means putting money where their mouth is. So the head of NATO is talking about a 5% of GDP on defense spending. In this country, we're sort of aiming for 3.5%. Ideally, what do you think the European countries should realistically be looking at to avert the risk of Russia?
Listen, if you say, I recognize that Russia is a threat, I recognize that the risk of war is real, I make a decision to invest more in defending myself, but I struggle to raise money for that, then you basically expose yourself to the attack even more. If we're serious about the war, we have to spend money. If we are not serious, then we say we're going to spend money, but we won't be spending them. We will complain that we have other priorities, that markets are tough, that budgets are short of resources. So this is why I say, again, for the last third time, take it seriously. This is real. Do not repeat the mistake that we made.
Can Ukraine really still look to the U.S. or a Trump-led U.S. to be a guarantor of any future peace?
Can anyone? I don't think that, everyone is very polite with President Trump these days because no one wants to alienate him completely. But everyone is conscious of the fact that you cannot rely on the United States anymore. So the whole kind of transatlantic diplomacy today is taking place within this very narrow corridor. We have to be nice to the Americans in order not to lose them completely, but you begin to build your life on the understanding that they're not going to come and help you to do that. It's like if you were, still living with a husband who you are about to divorce.
President Zelensky, we all saw that pretty explosive meeting in the Oval Office a while ago. What have you made of the way that he's handled Donald Trump? Is there anything else that he could do or change his tactics somehow?
Well, we live in a world where something that happened in the end of February is completely irrelevant to what is happening now. Listen, it started as a foreign policy meeting and it ended up as domestic policy meeting for all three gentlemen in the room, meaning President Trump, President Zelensky, and Vice President J.D. Vance. It took both sides 12 days to realize that they took it too far, and they stepped back, both. So since then, we haven't seen kind of scandals or clickbait moments like this. We still hear some annoying messages from Washington. We still hear some criticism coming from Zelensky. But in principle, they handle this relationship, which means that they understand the value of it. They do not particularly like each other, but they understand that they need each other for this to somehow handle the reality we all live in.
We didn't see, though, in all those months, that level of disrespect, if I may use that word, towards President Putin. What do you make of the relationship between President Trump and President Putin, especially the way that Trump may see Putin?
Well, he admires him. Putin is the leader Trump wishes he could be in his own country. Strong man, charismatic, holds his grip of everything. Everyone around him do exactly what he tells them to do momentarily. And most importantly, they share the same vision for the world. The world consists of a handful of big players who divide the rest and subjugate the rest of the world according to their interests. There are very similar pictures in their heads. I mean, very similar understanding of the map of the world in their heads. But there are hindrances in this relationship that Trump cannot kind of come over and build a truly genuine partnership and strike a big, beautiful deal with Putin.